Hey, everybody. So, what a week. All right. So, as with everything in life, two steps forward, one step back, or one step forward, two steps back. That's kind of how this week was. So, I failed to get um, mostly anything done that I wanted to. I didn't do a secondary video besides the pod. And so, one of the reasons for that was just poor planning on my part, but also because I had. Um, a huge bad case of acid reflux. So, for those that are unaware, I have severely bad GERD. The pyloric sphincter in my stomach that goes up to the esophagus is weak, and I have an overproduction of acid. It's something that runs in my family, and it's something that I do take a daily Prilosec for, but it would still do the occasional flare up. And the past year, since I started doing an elimination diet, watching what I'm reactive to and what I put in myself, it stopped happening. It kind of almost entirely went away. And here's the thing that sucks is so all it took was going out of my usual eating schedule and then getting some fast food because we were on the road and we couldn't, eat properly. And that's all it took. Then I had a horrible night, um, even worse morning, and I was basically just in the um, fetal position until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And so, it was bittersweet because anytime that something like that happens, it's rough because it affects me emotionally as well as physically. Like your body feels like it's eating itself out from the inside, and you're miserable. You just feel like you want to die. And unfortunately, I admit, I was snippy with my girl, and it just was a bad scene until about 2 o'clock when it kind of passed, and then I was able to get some chores done and end the day on a good note. But it did bring back all sorts of stuff, like back when it was happening on a regular basis. I mean, there's nothing worse where you feel like, okay, I'm gonna get an ulcer, might eventually die if this keeps on being as bad as it is. And I'm glad that it's improved, but I've been talking about how I want to cut down on smoking and drinking, and so that day, obviously, I didn't drink and I didn't have as many cigarettes, and it was because that would just offset the acid reflux again just as much. And I am trying so desperately to have this be a proactive podcast instead of a reactive podcast. So I didn't actually do a good job about cutting down on either drinking or smoking the whole week until that happened. And then that's the reason why I did, is because I had something horrifically wrong go happen to me physically. So that's not what I'm trying to do. And so it was just kind of annoying slash depressing. I get kind of into a funk about it because it's like, okay, well, you know, this is what you've been talking about. It's like, okay, you waited until your body was basically screaming at you, "I'm gonna kill you if you keep doing this," and then I acted accordingly. So not too happy with how that went, but it's a journey, it's a process, and it's stuff like that is going to happen occasionally. And I just once I finally had time to kind of process and meditate on it, it's like, well, how about you celebrate the good stuff? How about you celebrate the fact that you have slowly, improved on your diet and your health, so that it's been a year since something like that happened. I mean, like let's look at the good stuff. Um, whatever sores or whatever you have in your stomach, have had time to heal. So, hopefully, because back when I would have that happen, it wouldn't be very soon. It would be very soon afterwards that it would happen again. Mostly because it takes a while for the stomach lining to heal and stuff. I mean, it's basically a vat of acid inside of you, protected by a very thin mucous membrane. It's kind of nuts to think that all that's between us and dying from our own juices is a very thin mucous membrane. But that's what it is, and that's life. And it was maybe a lesson that I needed to hear, to tell myself, hey, you know the path that you've chosen is right. Start focusing on your health, start focusing on yourself, start improving, make it better. And if you don't, life's gonna say, well, you didn't, so I'm gonna throw myself at you, and in a pretty hardcore way. So yeah, it was definitely not the best time that I had, but it also was, maybe something that was needed, as a little reminder. And definitely, if you have any health issues like that, that's something that you definitely want to stay ahead of instead of let get worse. Especially when it comes to like your stomach and your internal health, and that's something that I, just little changes, like I said, I changed my diet. I know that my smoking and drinking is not doing any favors to it at all. One that I don't know that I'll ever be able to actually do is I should technically be sleeping at a at an elevated angle. Like I should actually be, instead of laying flat, I should actually be upwards a little bit. I don't know that I'm ever going to be able to do that. I can't sleep on my back. I just snore uncontrollably, and I can't get comfortable. And usually I wake up with some neck pain. I always have been a side sleeper, and that's very difficult to do in a comfortable position while also being in an incline. So that's something that I may or may not be able to do. But obviously, cutting down on smoking, drinking, and eating healthy is something that I can easily do. Exercise is a big one too, and that's one where I it's one of those things where it took me forever to get flossing on a regular basis, and now it feels wrong and gross if I don't do that. It feels like there's something in my teeth. So physically, that's kind of how it has to go too. Is like it feels annoying and painful and gross, at first, but then ideally over time you're going to be able to get to a point where you're just like, oh, I feel gross. What happened? Oh, I didn't exercise. Now I feel the opposite. It's like I feel good when I exercise. So I'm moving towards that, but yeah, that was my not so fun time of the week, and trying to think of some positive stuff that happened. I mean, on the plus side, after that did go down, I mean, we got a lot done as far as the house goes. She did downstairs while I did upstairs because we still hadn't really put a lot of stuff away from our previous trip, and so I took care of some of that while she organized downstairs, and finally laid out some of the rugs that we've been trying to put down there. Her mom makes amazing rugs, and one of them that we were really eyeing, it's kind of cool the way that she made it. If you look at it, it kind of has this optical illusion of like the spiral things, and it was super super cool. And we finally laid it downstairs, so that we have that, and we're gonna try and keep that looking as nice as possible. So that's not in the immediate area where you go in and out. That's over off to the side, so it's a little bit more decorative. But that's finally down, so that's cool. So it's little things that you gotta, you're not gonna be able to um, do any major landmark on any given day of the week, So it's just the little victories you have to learn to be able to celebrate. So, I had to empty sink full of dishes, by the end of the afternoon. We had, a rug laid down. And considering the fact that I didn't even know if I was going to be able to get out of bed for the first half of the day, that's something to be, proud of. We changed the sheets because I'd already sweat through them all. And yeah, we basically, the house and us were doing a lot better by nighttime than we were in the morning. And sometimes that's the best that you can hope for. And, just try and start again the next day. So, it's Monday. Hopefully you had a good week/weekend. Hopefully yours went a lot better than mine did. Time to start another week all over again, and um, try not to just be counting down the days till Friday. Try to put a little something into each of the days, so that way you're not just doing the everybody's working for the weekend, kind of thing. There's got to be a more up to date song than naming that one and just dating myself. But hey, anyway. I haven't done really much any of the joke writing. I mean, here's to just show how rusty I am, because I'm going to tell you this one because there's no way I'm ever going to use it because it's just sort of bad throwaway joke. But like the best that I could come up with when I was just like forcing myself to write one is oh God, what was it? Something so stupid. It was like uh, the black keys and the white stripes should get together and call themselves keyboard, because black keys and white stripes keyboard. Ha ha ha! Oh my God, it's such a bad joke. But the point is that I wrote one, and that's literally like how you get it started out. Is I I, uh, I hate to admit it, but I did read this comedy writing book at one point, and so he was a comedy teacher, and so like his students, he would be like, all right, do a joke about this subject, and the first step would they would do a completely unoriginal joke that they had heard, and he was like, okay, try a little harder, and then they would do a joke that they'd heard, but they fit it to fit that subject. And he's like, all right, dig a little deeper. And then eventually they would come up with their own very 100% original joke. Whether it was a good one or not, doesn't matter. The point is they were able to think of one. So even that crappy, stupid, piano joke is still better than the zero jokes that I had previously written. And hopefully they're just going to get, I'll get that muscle working back again, and they'll get, a little funnier, a little bit more clever, and to the point where I'll be like, hey, I wrote a joke, but I can't share it with you because I don't want it out on media because I would like to be able to use it in an act. So that's kind of how that's going to go, is mostly all you're going to be able to hear are the crappy throwaway jokes. So, hey, maybe if I do actually start doing stand up again and you come see a set, you'll be like, wow, he's actually really good. I can't believe he's just telling all these crappy ones online. Well, that's why. You don't want to put it on video until you're ready to move on to the next joke. So, um, yeah, just a little behind the scenes for, the non comedy people is, anytime that somebody goes on a talk show and they and use up their jokes, either that's from a special that they're putting out and that's what they're promoting, or it's a brand. It's a unique by itself 5 minutes that they're never going to be able to use in a special or on the road because they've already burned it. Is what they call it, is burning it. And a lot of comedians actually like to write that way because it keeps them fresh and out of their comfort zone. And that's mostly what improvement is just being out of your comfort zone, which sucks. It's like, why can't I lean into being in my comfort zone and I get better? And it's like, oh, that's not how life works. And okay, whatever. I guess my point of doing the podcast is that I'm trying to prove that you don't have to have the hardship happen first, that you can, willingly decide without any external, uh, whatever the word is, impetus, or, any external influence, that you decide that you want to. You don't have to hit rock bottom in order to be able to try and get better. So, or make better rather. So, yeah, that's kind of how mine went. Not the best update, but it's an honest one. Oh, it's not 100% honest one. So that day that I didn't drink, I did technically have a drink, if you could even call it that. I mean, it's basically the same amount of alcohol as if you'd swallowed a mouthful of Listerine. But I don't, there's probably a name for it, but there's a liqueur called 43. And so if you fill a shot glass with half of the liqueur and then half a heavy cream and you drink it, it tastes like ice cream. So I had one with my girl at the end of the night because I knew my stomach was good enough to be able to handle that. And if you ever want to try it out, it's actually quite tasty. But you're basically getting no alcohol and a lot of dairy, so it's mostly just for flavor rather than to get yourself drunk. But yeah, for those who stuck around this long, there you go. There's a little mixology um, thing that you can try. Oh, what really kills me too is that it meant that we didn't get to try out our hot pot. So if you're not familiar with Asian cuisine, a hot pot is traditionally one where you fill two sides. One is spicy, one's not, and you throw all sorts of just everything in it. Noodles, veggies, really really thin strips of meat that'll cook in like seconds, and it's just super super fun, tasty. Once you get the hang of it, it's relatively easy. Mostly it's the shopping for it because usually you'd actually have to go to a Asian marketplace to get just the right types of cuts of meat and that kind of stuff. It's think like strips of steakums, only healthy. And it's super yummy, and that's something we were going to try, and that's something I knew that my stomach would not be able to handle because you're darn right, if we're doing a hot pot, we're doing a spicy side, and my stomach would have just been like, what are you doing to me? But yeah, we're super excited to try that out. It's a really sweet birthday present that she got me. So she got me the pot with the two sides and then the cooker that you put on it because you keep it hot and boiling while you're eating it. It's a fun culinary experience if you ever get a chance to try it out, and it's something that we're looking forward to. So hey, at least even though it didn't happen, we still have something to look forward to for sometime later this week or whatever, and it's something we can always circle back to now that we have the stuff for it. So that's exciting. We just got to find a spot for it. I mean, that's always the problem, right? Is like, the more you accumulate, the more you're like, geez, I'm crow. I'm more excited about storage space than I am about getting a new thing these days, kind of like how you live in a big city. You're more excited about a new parking lot than you are about a new business opening up. Yeah, that's a good analogy. I don't know. I'll work on the analogies just like I'll be working on the jokes. So, it's just always going to hopefully get better. Um, but yeah, so that's the long and the short of it. Not too much exciting happening other than that, unless I'm forgetting something, in which case somebody might be screaming at the screen. It's like, oh, thanks a lot. Didn't even think of me for that. Yeah. So that's about it. It's going to be a short one today just because I do have some catching up to do since I missed out on a lot during the weekend. And yeah, maybe actually get some of that exercise done like I've been meaning to. So, I mean, one of the smallest things that I'm going to try and do is, if I can make the time, is just start taking Lilo out for her second walk, because you really should walk a dog twice a day, or do one walk and then one training session. And I always tell myself, well, we're not going to do the walk, but maybe we should at least do the training session. And then it gets to the end of the day, you're trying to make dinner, you're trying to just wind down, spend a little time together before it's time to go to bed, and then I usually just end up giving her a puzzle toy to deal with, which is still, not bad, but it's not following my own advice. So, I mean, it's the worst thing is do as I say, not as I do. It's like, no, 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 I want you to do as I do because I want to try and lead by example. And this has been a really long, quick ramble, but that's roughly where I'm about right now. So, I'm going to sign off. I appreciate you. Thanks for putting up with me, and hopefully next week I will have a slightly better update for you. We'll see.